This is Garden Jen. Welcome to my journey. Let's see what's in store today. Alright, in this segment we are going to talk again about dried herbs and what I do to preserve them. Right now we're looking in my personal pantry, and these two shelves here are full of mason jars with different dried herbs in them. And I use them for medicinal purposes as well as culinary uses. So I'm going to take you out to the kitchen, which has more room, and I'm going to show you these herbs in more detail in just a moment. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back to my kitchen. You can see on the table here I have quite a few different jars of items here. These are all dried herbs. Most of them have come from my garden, and this is only a fraction of what I actually have in my pantry and in my baking cupboard. But I thought I'd just show you what some of the herbs look like that I preserve. Most of these are from my garden. There are some that I do not currently grow in my garden, or because of the climate that I'm in, they won't grow in my garden. There's some plants that are not good in this climate, so I actually have to get those from a health food store, which carries bulk herbs. So I'll show you some. This is hibiscus. This comes from the flower of the hibiscus plant. I don't currently have this flower in my garden. I'm hoping to get this coming year. If you see hibiscus flowers, they're very beautiful. Anyways, this is what the hibiscus flower looks like dried. It's very beautiful, used in teas. It also is good for some dyeing, some coloring, because of the colors that bleed out of the leaves. Very, very beautiful. Or flower petals, I should say, not leaves. Those are the flowers themselves. So that's hibiscus. Again, I had to order this from a health food store because I do not currently have hibiscus growing in my yard. This is lemongrass. In the previous video I showed you my lemongrass plant. I actually have to cut it down. I might do that later today and dry it out. But it's just blades of grass basically. And I've cut them very coarsely. When you buy them in a store, you can see the ones at the bottom here, they're a little bit finer cut. That's generally how you'll get them, is they're a finer cut, but they all brew the same. So that's lemongrass. And then I have chamomile. Those are really tiny, delicate flowers. Very interesting. It's a very delicate plant in itself. I'll post a couple pictures of what different plants look like at the end of the video. Just a brief slideshow, so you can see what some of these look like when they're actually growing, since I did not have them when I did the previous video. Alright, I'm going to move this one to the back. This is calendula. Aren't they vibrant? And I'll show you some in a minute that I'm actually dehydrating, but this was the plant I showed you in the previous video. I had the yellow and then the orange. This is a jar of lavender. You can see all the different buds in there. This is the catmint, or catnip. You see, you have leaves and the flower buds in there. Try to pour some out here. So that's catmint, and boy does it still smell strong. My cats will be around here in a few minutes trying to get some of this stuff. Alright, this is echinacea, or purple coneflower. This I got at the health food store. As I showed in my previous video, my personal plants are not ready to harvest yet, so I still have to actually go to a store and purchase these. The same with this plant here. This is valerian. Let's see what that looks like there. And boy, does it smell really good. I mean, it's a very calming smell. It's kind of strong. If you're not used to it, it'll wake you up a little bit. But it's from the root of the valerian plant, like I showed you in the last video. So that's what that looks like. This, again, is not from my personal garden, as mine aren't ready to harvest yet. So I did have to order these. And then last but not least, there's a reason why I'm showing you this one last. This is burdock. Burdock root, actually. It's that big plant I showed at the end of the last video, the one with the burrs on it, which is where it got its name. So that's burdock root, all chopped up. And I wanted to show you what it actually looks like. Again, this is bought from the store, as I didn't have any yet. But I wanted to show you. Move these out of the way. Alright, this is that burdock plant that I had, what was left of it. And this portion here, this is the root. This is actually what I'm going to clean up and save, and it will look like that when I'm done with it. So this is a huge plant, but I will show you what it looks like when I start cleaning it up and start cutting it up, and we'll go from there on that one. Alright, and then I wanted to show you what's in my dehydrator right now. I'm going to clean this off a little bit. A lot of dirt from the burdock. Alright, so in my dehydrator, and these are done for the day, I have some sage. Remember, I showed you in the first video of my sage and how I harvest it. So this is sage. It's ready to be put in jars now. And then I also have the calendula. And then this is my leek heads that I've dried so I can save the seeds. So this is the dehydrator I use. It's been through a lot. It's actually starting to break. So I actually need to replace the trays. But it's still usable. So we're still working with that. So what I do, and I'll show you briefly. Very, very easy to do. Alright. And I will show you two ways that you can store your herbs so they will dry and you can put them away. So give me just a moment. Okay. Now I'm going to show you two different ways that you can dehydrate your herbs. There's actually a third way as well, but I'll mention that in just a moment. But the two main ways are with a dehydrator, which I'll show you. Looks like that. You can also use an oven on a low setting. Let me get this out of the way here. You can also use a standard oven on the lowest setting or pilot light. Sometimes that works. Other times the heat is still too hot and it'll damage your items rather than just drying them out. But the other way to do it is to hang them up to dry. So I'm going to show you both ways that you can do them that's readily available. This is lemon balm. I just harvested it this morning, and it's a stemmy plant. It has a lot of stems on it. So the first way that you can do it that a lot of people are familiar with is you just gather some stems. I would say 4 to 5 stems at the most, because you don't want it to be so compact it can't breathe. So just gather some stems like so, make a little bunch, and then take a rubber band and just bind them together. Then you got a bundle, and you could either hang this up like this to dry, or another neat trick that people like to do is you take a standard lunch brown bag. Of course, you would write in it what this is, because as things start to dry, they all look the same sometimes. But you take your herbs, put them in the bag, twist it a little bit, and take some twine. I'm just going to do a simple lark's head because I'm not going to actually do it this way for real for myself. Take some twine, and then you cut a few holes in it. See if I have some scissors here. Cut a couple holes in it. Like so. So now you have some air holes, and when this dries, if it had seed heads in it, the seeds would fall into the bottom, or if the leaves fall off the stem, they would stay in here. And so this is a good way of drying your herbs, and you don't have to worry about losing the seeds or the leaves. It also keeps dust off and insects as well. But this isn't the way that I do it, because I do have a dehydrator. It was gifted to me by my father-in-law, who passed away earlier this year. We sure miss him. But what we do, or I should say what I do, I'm the one who does this in our home, is I simply take the leaves and strip them right off the stem. Just like that, that easy. And then I put them on my dehydrator tray. And the top parts, the very, very top here, I don't worry about tearing them apart completely, because sometimes they're very fine on top. I just break the whole bud off there and set the whole thing down. This goes pretty quick. Alright, and there we have a tray full of lemon balm. And you just set that right on the dehydrator. What you can also do for some of the herbs, and it works very good for some your dainty herbs like oregano, marjoram, things that have really, really tiny leaves. And you can do it with the bee balm too if you want, or the lemon balm, is you actually can take the whole stem and just put them on here. And do it that way with the whole stem. And it takes a little bit longer sometimes because you added more bulk with the stem, but it'll dry out, and then you just remove them from the stem and they fall off a lot easier. And like I said, for the tiny herbs, it's better to do it that way. That way they're attached still to the stem and you're not going to lose them through the cracks of your dehydrator trays. So that's how I do those herbs. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start working on this guy. It looks really ugly right now. It's full of dirt and everything else. But, you know, it's still connected to the big portion of the plant here. But I'm going to go ahead and start cleaning this up a little bit and bring you back in a few and show you how I get this thing prepared for drying. So I'll see you in a few minutes. Okay, moving on. So what I've done since the last moment that you saw me is I removed my sage. Isn't it pretty? I left it whole because I really like how it looks. But I took my sage, my calendula, and my leek seeds out of the dehydrator trays. And I have those ready and waiting for the burdock that I'm going to be doing, and also the lemon balm. So again, the burdock looks like this when dried, but when it's in its whole form, looks like that. Not very appealing, is it? And again, I'll show you what the actual plant itself looks like at the end of this video. So this is what's left of the root after I cut off the stems. This is the root, and it's washed off, even though it doesn't look like it. It is washed. And one of the things I found, because this is new to me this year, is that the actual roots of the burdock are very, very soft. Very soft. Like the stems are very hard, very woody, like an actual tree. But the roots themselves, they're very, very soft roots. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut off the root legs, these things here, from the mass. And we'll discard the mass, and then we'll cut these into smaller pieces so you can dehydrate them. Alright, so I'm going to take my pruning shears, because that's the easiest way to cut plants. We're just going to cut these little legs off. Kind of interesting looking on the inside. They look almost like a mushroom core. Very spongy on the inside. Alright, and you can see what's left is just basically the branch, and this you don't do anything with, you can just discard that. Alright, so we're going to take this, and again, it is washed, it's just very dark in nature. I'm just going to slice this up. And I'm slicing them about 1/4 inch in thickness. That's about the perfect thickness for a dehydrator. You don't want to go too thin because then they'll be very, very brittle or very thin, and when you try to remove them, you might actually lose the pieces. So there I have them chopped up, and I'm just going to put them on my dehydrator tray. I'll show you that in a minute. This one I'm not too sure about because it seems a lot more squishier. So I'm actually going to discard this piece. And that's one of the things you want to do when you're going to preserve things, is if it doesn't feel right, if it doesn't feel like it's a good quality, don't use it. Go ahead and discard it into your compost pile. Better be safe than sorry. Alright, so I'm going to take these little ones. Same thing, just chop them up. Doesn't have to be perfect. Put them on the tray. Now, I used to live in the city. I used to live in an apartment. Loved the apartment. It was a beautiful apartment, but it was in the city. And I couldn't have a garden there. There was just no way. Even a patio garden didn't work because I didn't get a lot of sun. So, it took a couple of movings to finally get a place where I could have my own garden. And one of the first things I did when I had my own garden area was start looking at what herbs I can grow. I'm very much into organic things, natural remedies, using the herbs and things that God's put to our availability, rather than going to the mega drug stores and getting their remedies, so to speak. So that was on my heart. That was not very good either. It was on my heart to grow my own herbs, grow my own food, since I had the ability to do so. That one's not good either. And share any abundance that I had with the community. So that's what I've been trying to do, and the Lord has blessed. Alright, this is the last one. The other ones are a little spongy. So this is the third autumn for my garden, because we actually moved in here in the fall. So this is the third fall that we've been here, and I planted a lot of my first plants that I had in the fall because I had enough time before winter for them to grow. And then the next spring I planted a lot of the herbs that I showed you on the previous video that year, and then this year I planted some more, especially the annuals and things, and expanded how many herbs I had, like the rosemary and the lavender. I planted even more, because those are very good to have around your garden anyways. They help deter pests and things, and it's a very good plant to have overall. So I planted even more of those. So anyways, being able to share this with you is a tremendous blessing, and I hope you're feeling blessed. So this is what the burdock root looks like, cut up. Like I said, it kind of looks like, I don't know if the camera will pick it up, almost looks like a mushroom, the way that the mushrooms look like. but and the core is very spongy, kind of like a mushroom, and then the outer is a little bit denser. So now that these are cut, I'll set them on my dehydrator and show you here. I'm going to spin you around. So if you can see on my dehydrator, and yes, it's beat up and old and it's been through a lot, this is what you want to look for in a dehydrator. This is a temperature gauge, and if you're doing meats and jerkies and things like that, you're going to have your dial all the way, you're going to have your dial all the way over here, because you want a hot heat to preserve meats and things and prevent botulism and things like that. But when you're drying foliage, herbs, flowers, things like that, you want it on the lower heat setting, so it's not cooking your herbs, but it's just drying them out. So I dry my herbs between 110 and 120. And then when I start doing vegetables and things, which I may show you in a little while, I'll do between 120 and 130, just because they're a little bit denser and it takes a little bit more heat to dry them out. But anyways, I have my trays on here, my lemon balm here, and then the burdock. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on, and we're going to let it dry. And then hopefully in a day or two, and I'll have to look, I will have dry burdock that I can add to my collection. So that's how I preserve my herbs, and I hope it's been a blessing to you and gives you some information, gives you some ideas on what you can do. Don't ever be afraid to try. If you fail, just learn from your mistakes, see what it was that you failed. You know, I didn't learn this overnight. It took me a long time, and I still make errors. So the point is to keep trying. So I thank you so much for watching. I hope you are blessed. Stay watching for the pictures I'm going to show of the different herbs that I use, so you can see what the plants look like again. And if this video was helpful to you, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. Leave any questions or comments that you may have below. I'll be sure to answer them. And please subscribe to my channel. That way you can stay updated on what's going on in my journey and maybe continue to be blessed. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Have a blessed day. This is Jen saying bye-bye.